If you haven't been able to find success yet with Shopify dropshipping, you'll probably face a lot of problems before your first successful store. Some of these problems might even cause you to fail. John from Verum Ecom here, and during my 5 years e-commerce career, I've seen a ton of stores come and go, including most of the stores that I ever started. And after generating over 8 figures in revenue through Shopify, I can confidently explain to you exactly why most Shopify stores fail. That's why today I'm showing you how to avoid the top 5 most common problems that will make you fail as a dropshipper. Let's begin. The first problem that might cause your new Shopify store to fail very quickly is weak product demand. This is a problem that you'll run into right away, and it's a complete roadblock to everything else. You can't even get to the other problems without getting over this one first. And that's how this video will be laid out. The 5 problems will be in chronological order. You'll have to start with the first one before moving on to the second, and so on. Being able to avoid or solve every problem on this list will almost guarantee you a successful store. So listen close. Now, why is weak product demand the first problem on our list, and how can you tackle it? Simple. Poor demand is the first problem that you must overcome because demand depends largely on the product that you choose to sell. And choosing a product is the first thing that you do for a new store. Anything and everything that you do later, like finding audiences and advertising, revolves around this first decision. And picking the wrong product now will lead to an unprofitable store no matter what you do later down the line. So, choosing a product without enough demand is obviously a problem, but how can you get over it? Well, this is the hard part. A few weeks ago, I made a comprehensive video on finding winning products, and I'll summarize those strategies later on in this video. But the truth is that nothing is a guarantee when it comes to product research. You just never know for 100% sure if a product will be a winner before you test it. That being said, a big mistake I see beginners trying to make is forcing a product to be a winner for too long. Now, of course, if you increase your marketing efforts, narrow down the targeting, adjust your pricing, and all sorts of other optimizations, you might be able to turn any product into a winner. But that's an extremely hard task even for people like me who've been doing this for a very long time. Instead, what you want to do is create a system to make testing products more efficient and pain-free. That's going to let you move quickly past bad products and identify the real winners real quick. For your system, first you should create a set of rules that you follow whenever you decide to test a new product. The rule could be as easy as if you spend over $500 on a product and it doesn't work, then move on to the next one. If you want, you could simply copy my exact rules for testing products. It's really simple. First, make sure that the product has at least 1,000 plus orders on AliExpress. Second, browse around Facebook and YouTube to see if the product sold well in the past. Third, I give myself a budget of $1,000, and if I can't get the product to break even within $1,000 of ad spend, I move on to the next one. Those are my rules for testing products, but along with rules, you also need a product testing system. If you're just starting out, your system could be an easy-to-follow theme on Shopify that you can use for every store. You'd be surprised to see how much time you can save just by understanding a theme really well, like knowing the exact dimensions of every image that you will need. If you're more advanced or have some more capital to invest, you could hire some VAs for all of the basic tasks that you need done for a new store, like setting up accounts, setting up apps, and even the web design. In the end, having a solid system and rules is key for quickly picking yourself back up after a product you're selling inevitably fails. Otherwise, it's going to be much harder for you to leave failing products behind because you'll have to spend a large amount of thought and time to set up another store. So after you set up rules and a system for quickly testing products, you're ready for the second part of the problem with product demand: finding products to actually test. Luckily for you, and despite what you already think, products aren't binary winners or losers. It's more of a spectrum where the demand for the product and the effort required to sell it are inversely correlated. When demand is good, selling products is easy. You don't need to spend nearly as much time making the best ads, optimizing your landing page, or any of that. But when demand is not so good, you will have to put in some extra effort. Now, most of the products that you are testing are going to be somewhere in the middle, so don't give up on a product as soon as your first ad doesn't work. But also realize that sometimes it might just be better to move on. Now, finding the best products to test is just a matter of research. My favorite resources are Facebook, AliExpress, and AdSpy. I just made an in-depth video on how I find winning products using these resources. But to summarize, you should look for products that have already sold well on Facebook because that is the best indicator for demand. Then you should cross-check with other resources to make sure that the demand is really there. And while you're cross-checking, you should keep an eye out for anything that might trigger one of the remaining problems on our list. For example, if you aren't capable of producing any of your own video content for ads, and you pick a product without much existing video content, you will quickly run into the next problem on our list: ineffective advertising. But before we get into that, if you liked the video so far, please throw me a like and subscribe. I promise to release some fresh, updated content soon, and you'll want to be the first one to take advantage of it. Now on to ineffective advertising. It's the second problem on the list because even if you can find a winning product, you won't be able to sell or scale with bad advertising. Now, I'm currently working on an updated Facebook ad strategy video for YouTube that's going to contain a lot more details, but here are some general guidelines for running effective Facebook ads, starting with ad creatives and then with ad strategy. For your ad creative, you essentially have two options: photos and videos. Photo ads are easier and can be really effective, but it requires the product that you're selling to be recognizable for its functions. People have to understand right away what your product does from just glancing at the photo. For example, this mostly includes products like apparel and jewelry, which anyone can understand the purpose of, but it could also apply to stuff like food and razors. Now, whether your product can be sold through photo ads or not, either way, you should run some video ads as well. When it comes to making my first video ad for a store, I usually start by looking at a competitor's ad. This gives me the basis for which benefits and functionalities I should be showing off for my product. Now, after you look at some competitors, to make your own video, you can source clips for free from suppliers on AliExpress and Alibaba. To get cheap custom content, you can try filming some clips with your phone or hire actors on Fiverr to give testimonials and demonstrations. The end goal is to compile enough content to create an ad that's similar to your competitors. While you're doing this, keep an eye out for clips that are higher quality than your competition. It could be as simple as having higher resolution. Even better will be finding videos that demonstrate your product more clearly than your competitors. This will instantly give your advertisements a slight boost. Now, if you can't find any videos better than the ones already being advertised, you can always modify your video in other ways. The first thing you could try is changing the order of your clips. Try showing off benefits before explaining any features. To show you this in action, let's take a look at this ad from Dollar Shave Club, one of the biggest e-commerce startups ever with huge advertising campaigns.
Plenty of times where I've used a cheap razor, 2 days later I got bumps all over my neck. Yeah, pizza neck.
We got the shave kit here for you. I feel like I can knock you guys out with this.
Individual razors in there, they look really nice.
6 blades.
Wow,
Six blades.
Dang.
If you didn't notice, the first few clips in their advertisement purely try to showcase the main benefit of their product, which is a cleaner shave compared to other razors. They do this through a hook shot of a clean shave and then a testimonial of a guy comparing their experience with other razors. But notice how they don't really mention a single feature of the razor. They just focus on the fact that it will give you a clean shave. Then they flash a $5 deal, which is the second biggest benefit of their product. Since premium razors are usually much more expensive and most men have a general sense of razor prices, having a lower price is quite a benefit. This works well with common goods that most people already have a price for in their mind. But it doesn't work as well for unique products since most people don't have an existing price to reference quickly. So if you are selling a unique product, you could try highlighting a big percentage off sale as one of your benefits instead. Now, after they get through the main benefits of the razor, they get into the features and details, like the fact that it comes in a kit and has 6 razor blades. Then at the very end, they get into the offer for the product. This structure, going from benefits to features and finally the offer, is the most general outline for how you should be thinking about your ad. Along with that general video structure, you should highly consider the importance of your first clip, what I like to call the hook. Your hook needs to grab attention by quickly and effectively highlighting the main benefits of your product. Now, finding a good hook is a matter of testing a bunch of different clips. So for your first ad test, I recommend you to create a general video first, then create 3 different versions of that video by swapping out the hook. To create your video, you can use a free program like iMovie or Windows Movie Maker, but if you want to have full professional controls, I definitely recommend Adobe Premiere Pro, which is what I use. It's really not too bad to learn the basics, so I definitely recommend you check it out. And lastly, while you're making your ad creatives, you want to keep Facebook's ad policies in your mind, which can be found at facebook.com/policies/ads. It's essential that you keep on good terms with Facebook if you want to advertise on the platform for a long time. They are notorious for permanently banning advertisers for minor infractions. Now, if you want to skip making ads altogether and focus more of your time on ad strategy and building systems for rapid testing, then I recommend using a service called WavingPandas. It will do everything from sourcing the clips to adding the text to your ad. All you have to do is give them the product you want to sell. Now, I am affiliated with their service, and if you want to use my coupon code in the description, you can get $10 off your first advertisement. But before you try buying any creatives, I only recommend this service to those of you guys with enough capital to invest in rapid testing products. You're not going to get a winning advertisement every time, but their ads are definitely good enough for testing, and if your product is a winner, their ads should definitely get the job done. This is great for launching a lot of products quickly. Once you identify the winners, you can focus more of your time on fine-tuning the creatives. For now, you just need a few creatives to test, and you need a basic ad strategy to identify your winning ads and scale up. Now, this isn't exactly a Facebook ads video, so I'll just go over a basic strategy that you can follow right now. Make sure to subscribe and check back in later for a more in-depth ad strategy video that I plan to release in the future. In the meantime, test your products using this basic structure. In Ads Manager, create one campaign with campaign budget optimization turned on. Give your campaign a budget of $100 and leave everything else as is. Inside of the campaign, make 5 ad sets, set all of these ad sets to target the USA, start at midnight the next day, and exclude Dropshipping, AliExpress, and Alibaba from your detailed targeting. Everything else can be left as is, but for each ad set, you will have to add one unique interest target to narrow down your audience. If you're selling cooking gadgets, you could target interests like kitchen or cooking. Generally, you want your remaining audiences in the top right to be above 5 million people. Now for each ad set, run the 3 ads you made. You should end up with 1 campaign, 5 ad sets, and 15 ads. Essentially, the goal of this initial testing campaign is to see if your product has potential. I would run this campaign for 2 days and see what the data is looking like. If the cost per click is above $1 and you're only averaging 1 to 2 conversions a day, then this might be a hard product to sell. Depending on your budget, it might be smart to move on to another product. However, if you have a bigger budget, then you could experiment to see if different interests or creatives give you better results. Now, if the cost per click is under $1 and you're averaging 4 conversions per day or more, then there's a very good chance that you found an easy product to sell. You can refer to one of my past ad strategy videos to learn how you could potentially scale this product. Anyways, that's it for my basic testing strategy. Hopefully you guys can use it to find some good products to scale. Now for problem number 3, unreliable logistics. It's the third problem on our list because even after you find a winning product and scale up your advertising, you will quickly get shut down due to bad logistics, which mostly shows up in the form of unreliable shipping from China. In fact, I think this is the stage when a lot of potentially successful dropshippers face their biggest hurdle. Especially because it's hard to be cautious about your logistics without being stung a few times. Imagine this, the new store you just started a few months ago is finally super profitable. Your ads are scaled up to a few $1,000s per day, and you're dreaming about this life that you will be able to afford soon. This is when you will start to relax. You will think that you finally made it, and that's exactly when you will neglect the back end of your business. Basically, if you're at this point, you've proven that you can drive sales, but now you have to prove that you can deliver. Do not neglect this part. I personally have had tons of problems in the past with unreliable logistics, so let me give you my best advice for avoiding logistics problems. First of all, your goal with logistics is simple. You want fast, reliable shipping that reasonably satisfies your customers and still leaves you room for profit. I like to aim for shipping times under 2 weeks for the USA and under 3 weeks for the rest of the world, along with good responsive customer service. This should be just fast enough. That means if you're using AliExpress, your goal should be to get off the platform. The advantage of AliExpress is variety, and it's good for testing, but prices, shipping times, and reliability are definitely not the best. If you're testing a product from AliExpress and it's looking like a winner, you should definitely secure fulfillment outside of AliExpress before scaling. Your easiest alternative will be finding a private supplier. The biggest advantage to having a private supplier will be cheaper prices for the same services as AliExpress. In fact, your final cost to deliver products should always be cheaper than AliExpress. With a private supplier, you should also be able to secure better shipping times at better rates than ePacket or AliExpress standard shipping. The easiest way to find a private supplier is by testing a lot of different suppliers on AliExpress. After building some history, you can ask your AliExpress supplier to do business privately. You should also ask them to communicate outside of AliExpress on WeChat. You could also find private suppliers on Facebook groups, but I honestly recommend you going through AliExpress just because you have some concrete proof that they can actually fulfill your orders. Unless you get recommended to a supplier by someone you trust, I wouldn't recommend taking anything from someone that posts on Facebook as completely true. Unfortunately, private suppliers can have the exact same problems as AliExpress. They can also be just as unreliable with shipping. To understand the whole situation, you need to understand how the majority of the dropshipping supply chain from China works. First, you have a bunch of factories producing the exact same product. They might have little customizations here and there, like a different color or a different type of plastic, but they will all essentially be producing the same exact product. Then you have a bunch of so-called agents in China that buy these products to resell internationally through the internet. Whether you fulfill orders from AliExpress or through private suppliers, you will essentially be buying products from one of these agents, which at this point you should understand is just another type of middleman. Most of the time, as long as you find a good agent, you should be able to expect reliable, predictable shipping times when you're starting. That's not the problem. The real problem will come when you try to scale. Since your supplier is just a middleman, he will be ordering and holding inventory for you ahead of time. Holding inventory for somebody else who might not be able to sell it is obviously risky, so a lot of suppliers try to hold the bare minimum amount of inventory. When you start scaling to thousands of dollars per day, your supplier can easily miscalculate the amount of inventory you need. If you continue to scale, factories might not even have enough sitting inventory for your supplier to buy. Ultimately, if your supplier runs out of inventory while you're at scale, you will have tons of orders that can't be fulfilled for days or weeks. This is when people face catastrophic consequences for their logistical problems. Now, I've had logistical problems myself, so let me try to warn you about what happens. First, you will be getting bombarded with customer complaints and chargebacks. Then, you will most likely get banned from your payment processor for excessive risk. Lastly, you will get banned from Facebook after your feedback score tanks, and getting back on these platforms is not just a quick email switch. It's a complete headache that you want to avoid. And the only way to avoid running into logistical problems is constant observation and communication. Every day, you or somebody you hire should be checking tracking numbers to make sure that packages are being sent on time. You should also communicate any scaling plans that you have with your supplier. You should also communicate if your store is having trouble maintaining scale. Communication is the key to building trust with your supplier so that he can buy inventory based solely on your word. I recommend you start doing this as soon as you can. Don't wait to run into trouble like most dropshippers do. Now on to problem number 4, careless quality control. It's the fourth problem on the list because even after all that, after you find a winning product, scale your ads, and deliver your products reliably, if the products that you're delivering are bad quality and don't meet your customers' expectations, you will quickly get shut down and face the same consequences as not delivering any products at all. This is probably one of the most tragic problems to have because it will come even after you think everything is going perfectly well. And sometimes it will even hit you unexpectedly. Now the first thing you should do to avoid issues with quality control is test products thoroughly for yourself before selling them. The fastest way to do this is by trying to find the products on Amazon. If you can test the product through Amazon, you will be able to avoid slower shipping times from a Chinese supplier. After you test the product from Amazon, you should be okay to start selling your products from a Chinese supplier, since most of the time products will be very similar across all factories. However, you should still sample some from your supplier as soon as you start fulfillment to test it for yourself. Sometimes you will find that Amazon's version of the product is better than the one from China. So obviously, you should test products for yourself, but now let me tell you about another problem with quality control that might not be so easy to avoid. It's a cheap little trick that Chinese suppliers sometimes play. Basically, after you've scaled high and have things running smooth, some suppliers will sense the opportunity for more money. Depending on how many units you're selling, suppliers could potentially make hundreds or thousands of more dollars by lowering the cost of your product from the factory. With the power of scale in their favor, some suppliers might try to take advantage by lowering the quality on some aspects of your product, like using plastic screws instead of metal screws, using cheaper plastic, and any number of other sacrifices. This is a problem that's hard to catch, but it has the same severe consequences as purposely selling bad products. Hopefully that doesn't scare you too much. It's just a problem that I've seen happen to several people around me and also myself. Luckily, I have 2 pieces of advice to avoid this problem. First, always try to establish trust and friendship with your supplier. And if your supplier is somebody that is not receptive to having a close relationship, this could be a sign that you should move on before any problems happen. Second, always perform top-notch customer service. Part of that means sending out customer satisfaction surveys yourself so that you can understand what customers are experiencing. If you include a survey as part of your post-purchase email chain, you'll be able to catch any problems before platforms like Facebook and Shopify do. Now, finally, problem number 5 on our list. The last problem waiting to make you fail is giving up. It's the last problem on our list because even after you found an absolute hotcake of a product, nailed your advertising, delivered your product, and meticulously quality checked everything, chances are that one of those problems will flare up again. It could be that product demand died off because your product is seasonal. It could be that your audience isn't very big and your creatives are facing ad fatigue. Whatever it is, dropshipping has a way of making sure that your problems are never over. Even after you think you've got it all figured out, there's always a problem lurking around the corner. If you're unprepared for that problem and let it get the best of you and you give up, that's it. Your opportunity for success with dropshipping is over. So, as somebody who's had a ton of success with dropshipping in the past few years, let me tell you that problems are normal. I faced tons of problems that in the moment felt like I would never overcome, but since I never gave up, now I know that success would never have been possible without all those problems, failures, and learning lessons. Now, if you've made it this far into the video and want to learn anything that I have to offer about dropshipping and you want to learn from not just my problems and failures, but also step-by-step lessons, check out the full course that I offer in the description. So yeah, anyways, that's about it. Thank you guys for watching this video and never give up on your dreams. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.